Hollywood's golden age was filled with glamorous stars, powerful studios, and carefully built images. Every actor had a public face that was often very different from their private struggles. Among these stars were Robert Taylor and Clark Gable, two men who became symbols of strength and charm on screen. Yet behind the curtains, their lives were far from perfect. For years, a hidden story about Taylor's opinion of Gable remained buried. It was whispered among insiders that Taylor once called Gable a coward, a word that could ruin any actor's reputation, especially one known as the rugged king of Hollywood. The incident that sparked this insult was never fully revealed to the public at the time, because MGM, the most powerful studio in Hollywood, worked hard to protect its stars. But decades later, more details of Taylor's life and his experiences during World War II came to light. These details offered new insight into why Taylor may have made such a harsh judgment about Gable. To understand this, we need to look at Robert Taylor's journey, his struggles, his career under MGM's control, his service during the war, and the choices that made him both admired and criticized. This is the story of how to Hollywood. Icons crossed paths in a way that forever shaped how one saw the other. Robert Taylor was not born with the kind of name Hollywood loved. He came into the world as Spangler Arlington Bruh in 1911 in Philly, Nebraska, a small farming town. From the start, his name made him stand out in the wrong way. Teachers stumbled over it, classmates teased him, and during World War I, the German sound of Bruh made him even more of an outsider. But Taylor had talents that soon set him apart. He loved music and became skilled at playing the cello. His teacher, Professor Herbert Gray, believed he had the ability to play with major orchestras. At the same time, Taylor was a natural athlete. He broke records in track and field and earned local fame in Nebraska newspapers. He even considered studying medicine, following in his father's footsteps. But fate led him to California, where Professor Gray had moved to teach at Pomona College. There, Taylor's striking looks and presence on stage caught attention. An MGM scout saw him perform in a play and offered him a contract in 1934. The studio immediately changed his name to Robert Taylor, shaping him into the perfect leading man. What started as $35 a week soon turned into thousands, but it came at the cost of control. MGM decided his roles, his public image, and even aspects of his private life. Taylor was now a star, but he was also a prisoner of Hollywood's system. As Taylor's career grew, MGM marketed him as one of the most handsome men on screen. His sharp features, blue eyes, and charm won over audiences. But male fans sometimes dismissed him as too pretty. To balance this, MGM placed him in rugged roles like Billy the Kid and action westerns, while also pairing him with strong women like Greta Garbo and Barbara Stanwyck. His marriage to Stanwyck in 1939 created endless gossip in Hollywood. She was older, richer, and far more established, while Taylor was still seen as the studio's carefully polished heartthrob. Many believed MGM arranged the marriage to silence rumors about both stars' private lives. Behind closed doors, their relationship was troubled. Stanwyck had already adopted a son, but showed little warmth toward him, while Taylor often stayed distant. His affairs with actresses like Lana Turner created more strain. For a time, the marriage appeared solid to the public, but in reality, it was filled with unhappiness. The studio worked hard to keep their image clean, knowing that any scandal could damage box office sales. Yet even with these struggles, Taylor's career kept climbing. By the late 1930s and early 1940s, he was one of MGM's top stars, earning $5,000 a week. But a much bigger test was about to come, one that would define how Taylor saw himself and how he judged others, including Clark Gable. When World War II broke out, Hollywood became a tool for patriotism. Stars who stayed home made training films, promoted war bonds, or played heroic roles on screen. Clark Gable, who had lost his beloved wife, Carol Lombard, in a plane crash, joined the Army Air Forces in 1942. His enlistment shocked fans. But while he served bravely as a gunner on bombing missions, some whispers in Hollywood suggested his service was more symbolic than risky. MGM and the military both wanted to protect him, knowing how valuable his image was. Robert Taylor, on the other hand, enlisted in the U.S. Naval Air Corps in 1943. At 32, he was considered too old for combat, yet he threw himself into training with determination. He became a skilled flight instructor and even directed 17 Navy training films that helped prepare young pilots for battle. Taylor's dedication was real. And though he was frustrated at not being allowed to serve on the front lines, he gained respect for his seriousness and skill. This difference in their wartime paths planted the seed of tension between Taylor and Gable. To Taylor, who had given up Hollywood comfort to serve, anyone who avoided real risk seemed less than brave. Later, he would call Gable a coward, a word that carried great weight in an industry built on images of heroism. The moment that defined Taylor's opinion of Gable came during conversations within Hollywood's close-knit circle of stars and servicemen. Taylor knew what it meant to leave behind a glamorous life and face the harsh discipline of military training. He worked alongside young men who would never return home from the war, and he felt the seriousness of that sacrifice deeply. While Gable flew on dangerous missions, he was also carefully shielded by the military and the studio. Rumors spread that some of his missions were chosen for publicity rather than real risk. Insiders said that when things became too dangerous, Gable was pulled back to safety. To Taylor, this looked like cowardice accepting the glory of being seen as a soldier without carrying the full weight of combat. Whether this judgment was fair or not, Taylor carried it with him. In private, he reportedly called Gable a coward, a harsh insult aimed not at the man's acting but at his character. This remark never became public during their lifetimes, as MGM would never have allowed such a scandal between two of its brightest stars. Yet it reveals much about Taylor's values. He believed loyalty, sacrifice, and facing danger were the marks of a true man. In his eyes, Gable had fallen short, and that failure forever colored their relationship. After the war, Taylor returned to Hollywood with a tougher image. He starred in Westward, The Women and Quo Vadis, proving he could handle powerful roles beyond romantic leads. Yet his marriage to Barbara Stanwyck collapsed in 1951. Ending with her receiving a large share of his earnings. He remarried actress Ursula Thesis in 1954, building a more stable family life. Professionally, Taylor remained tied to MGM longer than almost any other star, under contract for 24 years. His loyalties sometimes worked against him, as the studio paid him less than others while controlling every role he played. In the late 1950s, he turned to television with The Detectives and later replaced Ronald Reagan as host of Death Valley Days. While these roles kept him visible, they also marked the decline of his movie stardom. Behind the scenes, Taylor battled heavy smoking, up to 3 packs a day, which would eventually lead to lung cancer. His life was a mix of glamour and tragedy, discipline and personal weakness. Through it all, his war service remained a point of pride, shaping how he viewed himself compared to other Hollywood stars, including Clark Gable. By the late 1960s, Taylor's health was failing. In 1968, he was diagnosed with lung cancer, almost certainly caused by decades of heavy smoking. Even after surgery to remove one lung, he continued working, determined not to let illness define him. He died on June 8, 1969, at the age of 57. Just weeks earlier, his stepson had also died of a drug overdose, adding another layer of tragedy to the family. Taylor's funeral was attended by Hollywood legends, including Ronald Reagan, who delivered a moving eulogy. Ironically, Taylor himself had once carried Clark Gable's coffin in 1960, showing the complicated respect between them, despite personal tensions. Looking back, Taylor's career was remarkable: more than 70 films, 2 successful television series, and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most loyal and disciplined stars. Yet his private remark about Gable as a coward lingers as a reminder of how deeply the war shaped his values. For Taylor, bravery was not about fame or image, but about facing real danger without hiding behind privilege. Whether fair or not, his judgment of Gable reveals the hidden rivalries and personal truths that often lay beneath Hollywood's glamorous surface. The story of Robert Taylor and Clark Gable shows how Hollywood stars were more than just the roles they played. To the world, Gable was the tough, fearless king of Hollywood. while Taylor was the handsome leading man turned rugged hero. But in private, their lives were filled with struggles, sacrifices, and flaws. Robert Taylor's childhood was shaped by feelings of not belonging. Born Spangler Arlington Bra, he carried a name that was almost destined to attract teasing. In school, when teachers struggled to pronounce it, classmates turned it into a joke. The timing made it worse. During World War I, anything that sounded German created suspicion, and the name Bra made young Spangler a target. He grew up shy and cautious, but inside he carried a determination to prove himself. His father was a doctor, a respected man in their small Nebraska town, and his mother was strict about discipline and manners. While his family was not wealthy, they valued education and expected Spangler to make something of himself. He was not just an ordinary boy, he was tall, athletic, and had a natural presence that drew attention, even when he didn't want it. Yet, he often felt trapped by his own awkwardness. Playing the cello gave him escape. It was through music that he first learned the value of discipline, practicing for hours to master difficult pieces. His music teacher, Herbert Gray, believed in him in ways others didn't. Gray became more than a teacher. He was a mentor who saw Taylor's potential not just as a musician but as someone destined for bigger things. This early relationship, built on encouragement and high expectations, shaped Taylor's character. He learned that success required patience, training, and resilience. But at this point, Hollywood was far from his mind. His dream was to follow his father into medicine, to live a respected but ordinary life. Fate, however, had other plans, and every challenge he faced in these years prepared him for the strange world he would soon enter. When Taylor enrolled at Pomona College in California, his life changed dramatically. Moving from small-town Nebraska to sunny California exposed him to a completely different world. The college environment was lively, filled with young people who were confident, modern, and adventurous. At first, Taylor felt out of place, the boy with the strange name from a small town. But slowly, he built his reputation. He became known for his athletic ability, setting records in track and field. His height and striking good looks made him stand out even more. Yet it was in theater class that his life truly shifted. He agreed to participate in stage productions, at first reluctantly, but the reaction from audiences stunned him. People couldn't take their eyes off him. It wasn't just his looks, it was his ability to command attention without even trying. One night, during a performance, an MGM talent scout happened to be in the audience. He didn't see a nervous college boy. He saw a potential movie star. Within weeks, Spangler Bra was given a new contract, a new life, and a new name. Robert Taylor. MGM wasted no time in reshaping him. They cut his hair differently, gave him acting lessons, and trained him in how to move, talk, and even smile for the cameras. At first, Taylor was overwhelmed. He had never thought of himself as an actor, and now the most powerful studio in Hollywood was betting on him. The transformation was quick, and within months, he was cast in films. The boy who once hated his name was now Robert Taylor, the name that millions of fans around the world would come to adore. Life at MGM was glamorous on the surface, but harsh behind the scenes. Studio head Louis B. Mayer believed stars were property, and Robert Taylor quickly learned what that meant. Mayer and his executives